Start recording. Right, so the other day we were talking about hemiacetal and hemiketal linkages. These are basically made so that your structure becomes more stable. All right, for example, if I talk about glucose, I was telling you there are particular two types of hemiacetal and hemiketal linkages, in the sense that the end product will be of two types. If it forms a 6-membered ring, it will be a pyrin ring, and if it forms a 5-membered ring, it will be a furan ring. I'll give you examples. For example, let's say I start off with, oh dear, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3, 5, and 6. So if you can see, we are starting off with the both same structure, right? The skeleton has 6 carbons. Here I'll draw glucopyranose. All right, how it goes is you have H, oh dear, OH, यहाँ से OH, H, this is where I told you your hydrogen goes to the top and forms a hemiketal linkage. Normally your first carbon should have CHO. Here another hydrogen is coming and occupying the place, freeing up one bond and giving you this cyclic structure. So if you see this, it will be a 6-membered ring. In the sense, it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so you will get a 6-membered ring. I'll draw it in another way so that you understand it a little better. This is basically achatika. I'll draw it here itself. So first we'll do few pyranose itself. Another way of drawing that same structure, what will happen is everything that is there on the right, this part will go down. You'll see, understand in a bit. So I start drawing with, suppose oxygen ka oxygen idhar la liya. Here comes, one second, draw it this way. So I have oxygen here and I have one carbon, CH2OH, all right, and H. This goes ulta. So CH2OH, this is the rest H. Okay, the first CH2OH is here, H is here, right? So it is bound to, see, oxygen is bound to this carbon. We are drawing this way. So this is the 5th carbon. This is the 6th carbon. 6th carbon, okay. This is the 6th member in the ring. Please be careful of that. This is the 6th member in the ring. That is the 6th carbon. All right. So that is that. Come back to pink. Right. So you have another carbon with a hydrogen and OH. See, if you can see, OH is present on the right side, OH is coming in the bottom. Whatever is present on the right except this fellow will come in the bottom. Okay. One second. OH, H, C, H, OH, carbon, OH, H, and here you have, right? If you take a number of carbon wise, I'll draw a number of carbons with pink. Okay, so you will have the first carbon, the second carbon, the third carbon, the 4th carbon, 5th carbon, and 6th carbon here, right? If you go by the number in the ring, okay, ringed number, so it will be the I'm doing the ring number in brown. Okay, So this will be the first one, second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one. This remains the same. Just the sixth one will be oxygen, making a six-membered ring. All right. Now I hope you can understand how I made this structure into this. Okay, it is basically the same thing, but I am representing it in a different way, where all the components on your right will go at the bottom except this fellow. This fellow will go on the bottom as well. Here CH2OH will come on the top. Okay, this will give you, I don't have alpha, no. Okay, D, what do you, D-glucopyranose. Right, this structure is called D-glucopyranose. Okay, I hope you understood this. If you have any doubts, please let me know how I made this into this. Basically, this ring structure, the vertical, the oxygen that is being donated by your fifth carbon to your, we are starting off with glucose. Okay, from glucose you are making a pyran ring, a six-membered ring. That is why it is called a glucopyranose. All right, here what is happening is, on fifth carbon, this oxygen is donated and it forms another linkage with the first carbon. The hydrogen on the fifth carbon, which is attached to this oxygen, will be donated to the first carbon. So you have, instead of CHO here, the aldehyde linkage will be broken and you will get CHOH, all right, or CH2O if you want to put it that way. All right, I hope you understood how we make glycopyranose. But now we'll go to glucofuranose. Okay, similar, but here we went for the fifth carbon, right? Instead we'll go for the fourth carbon now. In furanose, this was pyranose. Any pyran ring will be those with six-membered ring. Okay, pyran will be those structures with six-membered rings. So you have six members here in that ring. I'll draw a five-membered ring. All right, now first let's draw our main chain. Okay, here, okay, let me draw glucose itself first so that you don't have any doubt. CH2OH, OH, OH, H, OH, H, OH, H, H. This is D-glucose that we discussed in the last class, right? This is a pretty simple structure. Now, what I'm going to do is, in the previous case where I was making pyranose, I was what you call modifying the fifth carbon. So I was modifying this structure. Instead, this time what I will end up doing is, I will modify the fourth carbon. How I will do so is, one second. So the same, I will take hydrogen on the side. Okay, this H will be, or you can draw the same thing like this as well. All right, I'm simply drawing it in such a way that you get this. Okay, carbon has four bonds in both of these cases, right? Charges are balanced. You have this hydrogen being here and this hydrogen being here. We started off with CHO. We simply donated another hydrogen to that structure. Chemical formula will not change, the structure will change. So this will give you a furanose ring. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbons, but the ring has 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 structures. So if I draw it in a ringed form, it will look something like this. Start with O. So it's a C1. Okay, okay, let me draw. Numbering बाद में करता हूँ. CH again remains the same. Whatever is on the left will come on the top. Whatever is on the right will come in the bottom. COH, CH, OH, COH, H, C. ये bond कर देंगे. So you have COH and H, and you have CH2OH, right? If you see this structure and this structure, you'll be able to see. Now if I draw number of carbon wise, okay, so you have a number of carbons, may you have pink 1 2 3 4, fifth carbon and sixth carbon, right? First carbon, second carbon, second carbon, third, third, fourth here, fourth here. From fourth onwards, the ring continues, but this fellow, what is detached, the fifth carbon and the sixth carbon will come out here. So C, fifth carbon will be this way, sixth carbon is this. Ring wise, you have the first carbon, second carbon, third carbon, fourth carbon, and you have the fifth member of the ring. So 4 carbons and 1 oxygen make a 5-membered ring. This structure will be called glucofuranose. One second, D-glucofuranose. All right. Generally, glucose will be present either as glucofuranose or glucopyranose, simply because it is the most stable structure. All right. That is the reason why these ring structures are formed. Normally, whenever you have glucose lying around, you will generally find them in one of these structures. Though I'm not changing any chemical formula, the number of carbons, hydrogens, or oxygens, the structure changes so that it becomes a more stable structure, and it becomes more stable, and it will not break easily, or it will not get oxidized that easily. All right, so these are called hemiketal and hemiacetal linkages. All right, I hope you understood this. Now let's get to oligosaccharides. All right, now oligosaccharides will be anything that will have 2 to 10 sugars, right? The other day when we were discussing carbohydrates, I told you oligosaccharides are those that have 2 to 10 sugar units. Right. Now, generally, these what do you call will be again classified into the number of sugar units they in turn have. So, if they have 2 sugar units, there'll be disaccharides. 3 sugar units, it will be trisaccharides. 4 sugar units, it will be tetrasaccharides. And 2 individual units will be linked together using a glycosidic linkage. So, you remove one water molecule from 2 monosaccharides and you get a glycosidic linkage. You'll understand shortly with an example. Let's suppose I'm drawing sucrose. Okay, sucrose is an example for a disaccharide. Sucrose is also called your table sugar. It is also called your cane sugar because you get it from sugar cane. All right, so sucrose is like this. How sucrose looks is you have a 1 to 2 glucose and fructose bond, in the sense that, let me draw glucose like this. Oxygen, carbon, carbon. Okay, I can draw it this way now so that you understand. You already know these links will be carbon, so I don't need to draw this. I'll skip the carbon. I'll just draw the linkages here. So let's suppose I draw oxygen here. 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, these parts, this dot, okay, this will represent a carbon basically. Okay, this is a carbon, so this will be a carbon, this will be a carbon, this will be a carbon, this will be a carbon. That is for your understanding. Okay, so it will be easier for me to draw now that same structure. If I draw, this will be the fifth, this will be the sixth carbon, sorry, and here we'll have the hydrogen of the fifth carbon, right? Fifth carbon is attached here, the first carbon will be present here, so you have the same structures here, H O H. This will be your fourth carbon, this is your fifth carbon, this is your sixth carbon. Right, try to remember what we just learned in hemiketal and hemiacetal linkages. Right, ये structure उतारे थे. Glucopyranose उतार रहा हूँ and I'll make one glucofuranose. Okay. Stop drawing. If someone else is controlling, please stop drawing. So one second, Mari Baba. See, someone else is controlling the monitor as well. Please stop drawing or I'll stop the class altogether. I'll mark all of you absent and stop the biochemistry classes altogether. I don't want to deal with this shit. इसलिए इज्जत से बोले जब सुन लेना, गालियां नहीं पड़ते. Right. Now in the same structure, what I'm doing is, this is a furanose. The one on the left will be a furanose ring. So this is basically a glucose. This is glucose and this will be fructose. What I do is CH2OH and you have HOH. Okay, one second. Let me draw it a little higher so that you understand it a little better. Right. H2OH and you start off with O, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. You have H, you have CH2OH, you have H, you have H, and you have OH here. Right. This is how you'll have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 structured carbon ring. So if you see the basic structure of glucose and fructose, one second, I'll show you the basic structure so that you can understand a little better. See, this is how glucose and fructose look, right? One is a 6 carbon structure, the other is a 5 carbon structure. All right, this is a ketose. Fructose is a ketose, it has a ketone ring, right? If you see this C double bond O, this represents a ketone, right? So the basic structures are here. What you do is you change the structure in this one and this one. So if you can see, let's suppose this way. So what I'm doing is I'm changing here and here. I'm linking these two. How I do that is, one second. And now how I do that is I remove OH from here. Hold on. I remove hydrogen from here. Oh dear. Cannot do this. Some problem. Okay. What I do is I remove one H2O molecule. If I remove one H2O molecule, I will get one link with an oxygen. Okay. That is what I'm doing. I dehydrate the molecule so that I will get a bond between glucose and fructose. That is how you make a glycosidic linkage. That link that you were seeing with O in between, that was a glycosidic linkage. All right. Now coming back to our this thing. So this will be your alpha D glucose. So here you have your alpha D glucose and this will be your beta fructose. Don't get too into details of what is beta and alpha. You need to understand organic chemistry for that a little bit. At least you need to know what are anomers for that. Okay, they are a type of isomers. Based on that, you will get alpha and beta position. So you don't need that much detail anyway at your level. So we just write D fructose then. Right. So you're basically joining a D fructose, alpha D glucose with alpha D fructose, beta D fructose. You do this on position 1 and 2. So you get a first position of glucose and the second position of your fructose, and finally you end up having a sucrose molecule attached with a linkage between glucose and fructose. You have one alpha 1 and beta 2 linkage, right? Now some common properties about your what you call sucrose is, as it has a what you call both the functional groups, you have an aldehydic linkage from your glucose and your ketonic linkage from your fructose, as I just showed you. Fructose is a ketonic sugar. It has ketone in its structure, right? So because of this bond, generally it is protected against oxidative attacks. So it will not get oxidized as easily, and it can be stored and transported for longer distances and a longer period of time. That is one big advantage of sucrose in general. Right? Because it is not getting oxidized easily, specifically because of presence of aldehyde and ketone, it will be stronger in structure. It will have more structural integrity. In turn, it will be easier for sucrose to be transported and stored for a long period of time. Now, the table sugar that you use can be stored for a long period of time until and unless like there's a lot of heat where sugar is getting melted, or rarely do you see sugar getting disintegrated. Right? That is specifically because of this bond, right? The aldehyde and ketone presence, that in turn will give it integrity. Now, coming to the next sugar, okay, I had one example for maltose. Okay, one second. Let's do maltose then. I'll show you the structure of maltose. It will be easier. Right, so this is how maltose looks. What you do is you take two glucose molecules and you attach them together with a 1,4 linkage. So if you can see here, the first carbon of the first glucose and the fourth carbon of the second glucose, they will form a glycosidic linkage. You will have what you call a loss of water molecule, and you'll end up with a glycosidic linkage forming maltose. All right. So I hope you are understanding here. Now, maltose generally does not occur in free state. All right. Free state is in, you generally will not see maltose as such as you are seeing on the right side. It will be formed as an intermediate product in between vertical reactions. So if you have starch being disintegrated or glycogen being digested, okay, in both of these conditions, what will happen is you'll get maltose as a byproduct in between, which will get converted again. Now, if you have sprouting barley, okay, barley that you eat, okay, I'm sure you must have eaten or seen barley at some point of time, or at least heard about it. Sprouting barley contains a lot of maltose. All right, it is also called malt sugar for that reason. Now, some specifics about this thing is it will be a reducing sugar, specifically because it represents muta-rotation. But just remember, it is a reducing sugar. Whenever you hydrolyze, now if you see the same reaction, if I hydrolyze maltose, so basically what I do is, to the right structure, I put one molecule of water, I will get back glucose and glucose, two molecules of glucose basically. On the same end, if I dehydrolyze or dehydrate, sorry, dehydrate two molecules of glucose, I remove, can I do this? Right, I can do this. I hope you can still see this. What I will do is, I'll remove this hydrogen and this OH, and I'll end up having one oxygen molecule in between. So I am basically removing, minus H2O. Right, if I remove one molecule of water, I'll end up having one oxygen, what you call glycosidic linkage. If you see this, this is a glycosidic linkage in between two sugar molecules. All right, so coming to, this was your oligosaccharides. So coming to polysaccharides, if you're not understanding anything, please feel free to stop me at any time. I'll explain any other part again if you're having confusion. Right, you'll have to speak up if you have doubts. Coming to the next one, polysaccharides. Right, these are generally called glycans. They have a very high molecular weight. Generally, these are those sugars that are having more than 10 sugar molecules, sugar units. So as I told you, during monosaccharides as well, you can have n number of carbon molecules in one sugar unit, but until and unless you have a glycosidic linkage, that OO bond in between, right? So if I have a glucose molecule and O in between and the fructose molecule, this will represent a glycosidic linkage. Until and unless you have one glycosidic linkage, so basically let's suppose I have glucose being attached to one fructose like this. This is one molecule of what you call one disaccharide basically. All right, this is one sugar attached to another sugar. This can have n number of molecules. Okay, n number of carbon molecules. Let's suppose this is 9 carbon molecules, and this has two carbon molecules. Okay, for example, two single sugar units or two monosaccharides being attached with a glycosidic linkage. This will represent a disaccharide. If you keep repeating this 10 times, or if you have 10 sugar units like this, so you have someone is talking. Right. So you have 10 sugar units like this. I'll just represent sugar as this. Okay, so you have sorry, another O, glycosidic linkage is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a very linear structure that I'm drawing. It can be branched as well. So in between you can have a branching like this. Okay, anywhere possible. So it can be a branching like this. Right. So basically you need to end up with 10 or more sugar units. That is how you will get polysaccharide, more than 10 sugar units. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let us do a few more. 8, 9, 10, and here you have one simple molecule of a polysaccharide. See here, this is a very simplified example wherein I'm showing you there are 10 sugar units. Hold on, let me erase the other structures. So if you can see this molecule, you have 10 sugar units here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. You have 8, 9, 10, and 11. Sorry. So you have 11 molecules. This will represent a polysaccharide. Now here you can have a lot of variability. So this can be sugar type 1. All of them can be the same sugar, in the sense that that will be a homopolysaccharide where all the sugars in a polysaccharide are the same. For example, your glycogen, your starch, your chitin, all of them will have the same sugar molecule. Meaning if I'm taking, let's suppose I'm talking about glycogen, that is a homopolysaccharide. Glycogen will have glucose being attached to each other more than 13 times. So that will make the simplest form of glycogen. Normally you have 25,000 units, but if you take the simplest molecule of glycogen, you will have around 13 to 16 units of glucose attached to each other. All right, in that sense, let's suppose this is a glycogen molecule. I will have the same type of sugar. So if S represents glucose, if S is equal to glucose, let's suppose, so S1. So this is S1, S1, all of them are S1 type. Okay, the same type of sugar is being repeated again and again and again. All right, all of them are S1 molecules. This is a polysaccharide, okay, wherein all the sugars are of the same type. Then you have another category which is your heteropolysaccharide, wherein, one second, let me draw a heteropolysaccharide. I'll not draw the whole thing again, but just imagine it 10 times. Okay, one second. So let's suppose S1 is glucose and S2 is maltose, or S2 is fructose, for example, and S3 is erythrose. It can be any number of carbons. I just told you, it can be a tetrose, it can be hexose, it can be heptose, it can be diose, any other form. All right. So if I have a heteropolysaccharide, I will have S1 glycosidic linkage that remains constant. Glycosidic linkage should be present. S1, S2, S3, any which way. Okay. This S1 can be again attached to an S3, which in turn is attached to S2, any which way. Okay, I keep repeating this so that I have more than 10 molecules of sugar units, 10 sugar units. This will give me a polysaccharide at base, but because it involves different sugar molecules, this will be a heteropolysaccharide rather than a homopolysaccharide. Your heparin, hyaluronic acid, chondroitin sulfate, all of them are examples of your heteropolysaccharide. So the simplest way of understanding a homo and a heteropolysaccharide will be, if you take a homopolysaccharide and you break it down. Basically, if you take a homopolysaccharide and break this glycosidic linkage, you will get the same sugar units. Whereas in a heteropolysaccharide, if you break it down, you will get different sugar units. Okay, that is the basic difference between them. Now coming to the first homopolysaccharide, glycogen, this fellow is called animal starch. Okay, it is mostly present in animals. Now we'll do glycogen first. Hold on. Right. So glycogen. Now see if I can pull an image of glycogen out of the net. Hold on 1 second. So your glycogen will look something like this. Yeah, you have a doubt. 1 second, I'll just get back to your doubt. A glycogen looks like this with several sugar units being attached to each other, and the chain continues on for a very long distance. Generally, you'll have around 25,000 such glucose units. Here, this is 1 unit. Okay, for example, I can't enlarge and do this, but if you can see what I'm drawing, this will be 1 unit. This is the second unit. This is the third unit. In between this that you see, the dot is a glycosidic linkage. If you repeat this 25,000 times, you will get a glycogen molecule. All right. Yeah. Now coming back to your doubt, what happened? Okay, I was searching for glycogen. Sorry. Right. Coming to glycogen, some important points of this glycogen will be it is present in high concentration in your liver and muscle. So I will write down some important points here. So it is present in high concentration in liver and muscle. Generally speaking, 7% of your liver's net weight, right? Your liver weighs around half a kilo. Your liver's net weight, 7% of it will be made of glycogen. So around 3 grams of glycogen is present in your liver if you have 7%. Considering you have half a kilo of liver and you have 7%, it will be around roughly around that. Right now, what do you call your glycogen, which makes up 7% of your weight, is also found in some plants. Right, it is generally linked with a alpha 1,4 linkage. So you have linearly. So if you have alpha 1,4 linkage is something like this. So you have a linkage on the fourth alpha carbon. Basically, if I take glucose, okay, so you'll have first carbon attached to the fourth carbon. Okay, that is how you have alpha 1,4 linkages. Okay, this will be the alpha carbon being so. And this will be represented again and again. 1 second, let me. That is not a glycosidic linkage. Yeah, this way. So you have the first carbon attached to the fourth carbon in an endless chain. Okay, almost for a very long period of time. And if you want branching, okay, if you are having branching in the sense, if you are having this glycogen will have branching on the sixth carbon, in the sense that if you remember, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is the sixth carbon. Branching will occur from here. All right, so this will be attached to another structure of glucose, and this branching goes on, so on and so forth. This way, 1 to 4 is a linear structure wherein it will go in a straight line. If you are having branching, that will be a alpha 1,6 linkage. So if you see the diagram again, 1 second. If you see this diagram again, where did it go? Right, if you see this diagram, the linear structure that you're seeing down below in black, okay, that is a 1,4 linkage. So first carbon of the first glucose is linked to the fourth carbon of the second glucose, and so on and so forth, it goes on. Right, if you can see the branching that is occurring, that occurs on the vertical sixth carbon. Sixth carbon will be attached to the fourth carbon of the branched glucose molecule. So here I'm not able to enlarge and draw it to you, but if you can see this. Right. So these two are basically, these two are, let me draw. These two are 1,4 linkages. All right. This is one and this is 4. This is a very small image, that is why I'm not able to draw on it properly as well. um, this is 1 and this is 4. Where you get branching is 1 is attached to 6. Okay, so 1 6 will make a branch, 1 4 will carry on the molecule linearly. So in a straight pattern, when you have a glucose molecule being attached to each other through a glycosidic linkage, that will be through 1 4 linkage. If you are having branching, that will be through a 1 6 linkage. All right. Now, molecular weight of glycogen will be around 4 lakh Daltons. Okay, Daltons will be the measure of molecules, the unit of measure for molecules. Okay, Dalton will be the way you measure weight. It is generally water soluble and it will give a red color if it is tainted with iodine. If you want to identify glycogen, what you do is you use a dye of iodine, and when you use that dye, you'll get a red coloration, red discoloration. Okay, this is a generally reducing sugar. All right, so this is about glycogen. I'll continue with the rest in the next class. We have like 3 minutes left, so I'd rather continue with the next one in the next class. Okay, if you have any doubts in this class, in any part of the class, please let me know. What is glycogen? What are disaccharides, or what are polysaccharides, or what are hemiketal linkages? That is what we discussed. No?
No, sir.
All right. Chalo, ठीक है. Thank you.